probably won't be shown.
Well, also, so I'm the author of the book Government, the Biggest Scam in History Exposed, where I'm making the case that government was never intended to protect life, liberty, and property, but government is essentially a technique of intergenerational organized crime to rob and control societies, and that all government is illegitimate. I'm a voluntarist, and all that a voluntarist means is that someone that believes that all human relationships should be voluntary, that nobody should have the ability to use violence or extortion or force on anybody else, not even if they're a quote unquote government. Government doesn't get a pass for morality. And one of the ways that you can know that you have a bad government is because they are using violence on peaceful people to try and achieve, social engineering or raise revenue on their friends and their neighbors. And so voluntarists think that all government is illegitimate because it is impossible to delegate rights that you do not have yourself. The ability to steal money and call it taxation, the ability to make up rules for everybody and call it laws. If I don't have the ability to do that for Dr. B or for Dennis, then it's impossible for me to delegate a right I do not possess myself to a representative or to a government to do something that I don't have the ability to do myself. So if the right for the government to do everything that the government does didn't come from we, the people, because it's impossible for we, the people, to delegate rights they don't have themselves, if it's impossible to be bound by a social contract that you didn't sign, and if it's impossible for Dennis and myself to rob Dr. B just because there's two of us and one of him, and we vote in democracy that he has to give us all of his money, if that would be illegitimate if there's just three of us, then it doesn't matter if there's four of us or 250 million of us. You can't, no magical additional person makes something that is immoral and illogical now moral and logical just because the majority of people, the mob, wanted to, rob Peter to pay Paul or vote to lynch black people. Just because the mob outnumbers its victims, it doesn't make that desirable. And so government has been the biggest scam in history, and they've been getting away with it because they control the government and the media and academia. And so what we're exposing in the book, Government, the Biggest Scam in History, is really the playbook of how governments use control of the media and control of education to indoctrinate the population that government is legitimate, desirable, and necessary before you're old enough to really evaluate the logic and the morality of that claim. And so that's just a little bit about me, but the book Government, the Biggest Scam in History has been designed to take your friends, your relatives, and your neighbors from kind of 0 to 60 in a very, very short amount of time, leveraging the fact that most people are visual learners. And so in the book, I'm doing a lot with media organization charts, media ownership charts. I'm doing a lot with visualizations that make what was invisible visible, so that when your friends and your family and neighbors can see what that control structure looks like in the media or in the government, and they see it with their own eyes, they come to a deeper understanding of how the organized crime system is able to control, dozens and dozens of ostensibly independent media companies by coordinating the actions of the key publishers, editors, reporters through a small handful of organizations that Jeffrey Epstein was also a member of. So as one example.
Your book,